Hey, welcome back to another tutorial. This week we're gonna try to make messaging UI. I do intend to make a two-part tutorial. This is just a simple UI that I'll show you how to make a reverse scroll view. As seen, I add a bunch of text to show that scroll view working, and then when you add a new text, it will reset. I do want to give credit to this tutorial. This create a base code that I was able to play around with for a few hours, and then to adjust it to what I need. Also, the first few minutes I would start making my navigational bar styling and then my text field styling, and then after a few minutes and I'll fully go in detail how to make the reverse scroll view. So I hope you can enjoy. Alright, so here I'm gonna go to this tutorial making the scroll view. So we have our first variable of content height. That should be a GG float. You set everything to 0. And the second variable is our ScrollOffset. Third one will be we will keep tracking our current offset of our content. Okay, now we get to the body. I'm gonna first start with making a geometry reader. This is our parent reader that we will use it to access the parent size. And ScrollView is typically just a v-stack, the underlying of ScrollView. So I'm just putting it in v-stack here, and I'm gonna pass my content down here, right? And applying a background of color dark. Actually, we're gonna create another geometry here. This would be our child reader. This, and I want to apply a color clear to keep it invisible. And pass a preference size up height. We're gonna pass our child over here. For that, we're going to create our preference key. Stay with me a bit longer. I will explain this whole thing. So for preference key, you always require to have a default value. We're going to use a float here in this case, and we have a static function of reduce. We say value, select serve to next value. Alright, so let's go through this. So I have an outer geometry. This lets me access the content of the parent. And I put everything in the v-stack. I explained about how the underlying of the scroll view. And the reason we have a background geometry in here is that the background, as you know, the background always expand with the content. So when the content get bigger, so does the background. This kind of in a way is a trick to allow us to get access of the content size. The reason that I don't do this in reader and I put my content in here is because this when the content expand, this expand with the content, and eventually it will hit the geometry, the outer geometry, and then any content that you add, keep adding. When you keep adding content after that, everything will get bunched up, and of course it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't create that scroll effect that we will have. No, not scroll effect, but the content just doesn't look good. In the case doesn't work, so that's why I have this as using as a background. Jesus. Alright, so here we have a color clear, and we pass a preference keys. What's a preference key is that it eventually allow us to use data to pass it to our parent view. So our preference keys here does is that it's combined. The value here will be returned, and it will be the final value of our. It basically combine all our child view in that view, and then give us the size of that. So here we pass a preference key of view value key, and we pass the size of the inner reader. Right, so when the inner reader increase, this size will increase and it will pass it. And the frame here, our size, I'm just gonna set it out of screen height. This will get resized, as you know. So when you put this in between these middle, it will get compact. So even if you stack them, there won't be any problem. And make sure we clip it, or not, when we scroll up here, it will get the overlaying on our navigation bar of our message view. And I'm just gonna add the symbol animation here. If you want to play around with this, add a print line to print out the value, and when you add a value, or when you remove the value, it will change. So in my post I did that, and to show you how this can't work, right? So we have a sample print here. So initial, I have few messages, and the size of it is 216. So when I remove a message, it's 161. When I add the same message with one line, it's go back to 216. And then I remove it and I add a 3-line message, it go back to 260. You've seen, so every time the size of the inner reader change, it will pass this and you recalculate the size of our height. Right. So next, we gonna take a use of our preference. Here we're gonna say on preference change, we're gonna do something, and I'm gonna pass a key of view height key of itself, and this perform we'll implement this later on. So when basically here we're saying that when the key change, do something about it. And our offset, we're gonna add our current offset and our scroll offset. Then we're gonna add our gesture. Here, a gesture typically have two functions: on change and on drag. And we just gonna cell dot on change. Don't worry, we will implement all these functions later. Here we're passing out the reader .site.height. Just might as well fill in this. Right, so here we gonna add our preference chains. So when our side chains update the content height, and drag gesture, we pass in two functions called on drag and on drag chain and on drag end. So now we have that, we're just gonna implement those functions. What this is called on drag change. And here I'm passing the value of drag gesture dot value. On drag chain is simple. We're gonna set our scroll offset equal to value dot translation dot height. Since this is a vertical scroll, I'm just only need the height of this, right? The change of the height, and we're gonna function on drag and we pass the same value, drag gesture dot value, and our height is our height in this case will be a CG float. Alright, so we let set equal to value dot translation dot height. Right, so we get our different, and then we'll make another function. Let's call them update our offset. This will be a CG float too. Okay, so we have that function that we need. It will just be a template for now. We're gonna fill it in later. So we're gonna pass in our ScrollOffset, and we're gonna pass in our height. And after we update everything, we're just gonna set our ScrollOffset equal to 0 because there's no more scrolling, right? You have to reset the scrolling value. Alright, let's go. Okay, so now we're gonna, this is how what we calculate all our offset, right? So we have a update offset, so we're gonna do a top limit that we're using the content height. We subtract our outer height. Right, so this is what I'm saying that let's imagine you have a bunch of messages, right? You have like 3 messages. The content height is subtract to the parent height will eventually result you in a negative number. If you have like, so example, we have like 20 messages where the content is like this big, right? Like outside of outside. This eventually result you in a positive number. With that, you're gonna check the top limit. If it's less than, if it's a negative number, we set our current offset equal to 0. Because we know that if the child, basically the content is smaller than the parent, that means you have less value. So there's no scrolling that we need to do here. And beside a negative, now you have to check for either a 0 or a positive. So right here, I'm going to predict it offset. I'm just getting the check of current offset to ScrollOffset. Here I'm gonna enforce a top limit and a bottom limit. So if we scroll past the bottom of the last message, it will bounce back to 0. If we scroll top the past, it will bounce back to 0. So we here we say if predicted offset less than 0, we're saying that this is the last value. We set predicted offset equal to 0. Else if we're saying if predicted offset is bigger than the top limit, which is how the difference between our content and our parent, we gonna say predicted offset equal to, we're gonna set to top limit, no change, and then we're gonna set our current offset equal to predicted offset. Alright, this should be perfect. Now we have this drag gesture animation done. Did I miss anything? Now we're gonna implement our update content height. So as you know, every time you add a message, it will have to do something, right? This will then update our offset of Y to allow us to change the height of the content. So we have a function. Let's make a function called update content height. Say with the height is same thing. We just CG float, now the height is our parent should float. Same thing, we say we get a top limit to see what's different. We get our parent minus our inner height, basically our child height, and we say cell dot content height. We're gonna set it to height. Okay. So let's call an update offset with our top limit and our outer height. So every time you add a child, remove a child, we basically here is just calculating and resetting the view. So every time you add a child, it will bounce all the way down to the bottom. What's wrong? Okay, there's something wrong with this. Okay, so use some typo error. With that, we shouldn't be done with the scroll view. Let's go back to here, and we're gonna make our reverse. We're just gonna make our reverse scroll view here. Gonna add in a V-select. For the rest of the tutorial, is typically just gonna be like styling for the rest of it. So I hope you enjoy. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you need more explanation or the full code, you can grab it on my website, which will link below. Just code with Con. I do intend to make this into a two-part tutorial, where the next part gonna be me trying to make a multi-line text field, and hopefully I can add a keyboard guard to this. So if you have any suggestion or any comment, just leave in a comment below, and thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned.